I wasn't going to. Hi. I wasn't going to film this video today. I've already filmed 2 videos today, and they probably won't be put up in the order that I filmed them. But I figured I'm on a roll, and I ran across my notes for this video, which I haven't done. It's not a makeup video, or like, it's kind of, I don't know. It's a different video from all the other ones I've put on. Since I lost my job, the place where I was working closed, my husband and I have always tried to stick to a budget anyways, but we're trying to be a little bit more careful because unemployment doesn't pay as much as what I was getting paid before. So I guess this would be a really good time to talk about how to trim your budget, because I know a lot of people aren't really sure. Like, they think, I need to save money, but what can I cut out? What can I do? And here's some ideas. It's not an all-inclusive list. There's lots of other things you can do. There's probably tons of videos out there, tons of websites, everything else. But here's some ideas. The first idea is going to sound weird, but it's on my list because I discovered that before we got married and I started collecting all of his change that he leaves all over the house, because they fall out of his pockets and stuff, or he pulls them out and just sets them places. My husband used to throw out pennies because, which I found out when we were watching a clip of John Oliver's show on YouTube. And he was talking about pennies and how perhaps the United States should do away with the penny. And he mentioned the fact that a lot of people, they get so many pennies and they throw them out. And my husband, I was like, what? People throw out pennies? And he was like, well, I've done that before. I was like, are you kidding? So what I do with my pennies, if you get a whole bunch, is I have various things set around the house. Like, there's one in here. I should have grabbed it before I started filming. Actually, I will continue talking at you while I grab it. Set in different rooms of the house to put loose change in, or that you can, like, if your wallet has like a little change section and it's just getting too full, you can clear it out. This is the one I keep in this room because he winds up with a whole bunch of change. This is where we have our computers, and he winds up with a whole bunch of change on his computer desk. And this is what I put it in. I put like all the change he sheds in these, and then I can fish through them. Otherwise, and you don't have to use an actual, like, bank. Like, this is an actual, like, change bank. But you don't have to use that. Like, in other rooms, I have, like, a little, I should have brought them up to show you. I have a little, swan that's, it's just a little, like, dish. It's basically just a little fancy dish to put stuff in. I have that in the living room. It's one of our, it's part of the decorations, but we also put loose change in there. And like, I have a little blue pitcher shaped mini vase that's kind of too small to really put flowers in, unless they're, well, sometimes I pick a couple little wildflowers out of the yard and bring them in. But I have some other small vases to use for that too, that are just as small, so I use that to put change in. If I need to clear pennies out of my wallet, I'll put them in there. And then for the most part, I usually wind up fishing out the change and using it later. But if you want to, you can continue collecting your pennies till you have a whole bunch. You can take them to the bank and exchange them for cash, as opposed to throwing them out. It will take a while for it to build up to the point where you want to take it into the bank for cash. Sometimes there's those change machines now. I've never used one, so I'm not sure how it works. I don't even remember what it's called, but I think it's like is it Coinstar? Something like that. That you can take like a whole bunch of change in, you dump it in, and it gives you cash for how much change you put in. Like I said, I'm not really sure how that works because I've never used one. But instead of throwing away your pennies, like you can save them up and you'll get actual cash out of them because they are, since we still have the penny and it's still worth a cent in our country, you put enough back and you have some money there. Not a whole lot, but it can still help with your budget. So enough about pennies. I didn't mean to go into that much about it. But just, like I said, maybe you also throw out your pennies too. I was really surprised people do that. You want to try and cut down on your impulse purchases too. That's going to help a lot. I know that can be hard for some people, particularly if some people shop when they're stressed out. But there are ways that you can cut down on impulse purchases. Let's say you've gone to the store. This is something my husband and I started doing at Ollie's because we're not too bad at impulse purchases, but Ollie's, if you've never been in an Ollie's, it'll do you in because they just have all kinds of really cool stuff and it's discounted because it's like overstocks from other stores or another store stopped selling this, but it's still good and they sold it to Ollie's for Ollie's to sell at a discounted rate, so now Ollie's is selling it at a discounted rate, and it's just really easy to like pick up stuff we don't really need. So what we do, and you could do this in any store, you could even do this online, is before you check out, go back through your cart and ask yourself, do I really honestly want or need this? And if it's not a need, if it's a want, how much do you want it? Or maybe cut it down to like one purchase that you want. Or if you need to be super frugal, you can say, this isn't a need, this is a want, and put it back. You can do this online too. You can go make sure to go through your online cart, kind of weed it back out before you hit checkout, and that will help a lot. And that leads me to another suggestion. Make sure you're not rationalizing something that's a want as a need. That can be hard because, yeah, but I really want this, so therefore I need it, and so you really have to cut down on the things that aren't a necessity if you need to save money. And that, like I said, that can be hard, but really ask yourself when you're shopping, is this a want or is this a need? And then based on the parameters you've set up for yourself, like I said, maybe you said to yourself before you went shopping, I'm allowed to have like one thing I want, but everything else has to be what I need. Then weed it out to the thing you really, really want. Or if you're doing away with wants entirely, which I'm not sure I recommend because it's kind of like people who go without dessert as a way to help themselves lose weight and eat healthier, then they wind up like binging. So you don't want to binge shop. So I wouldn't recommend doing away with wants entirely, though you can do away with wants like not every shopping trip, because that can add up too. So maybe like you're allowed to purchase one thing you want a month or one thing you want every other week. That will help cut things down. Another way you can cut things down for wants, because of course there's a whole bunch of stuff you really want, right? Another thing that I do, and that my sister does, which is really smart, is she has a list of stuff that she wants, because there's like TV shows and movies that she wants on DVD and books and things like that. And she has a list, and my mom and I each have a copy because we're the people buying gifts for her most often. So we just have the list, and then we kind of let each other know what we've we've purchased and crossed it off. But you don't have to give your gift list to anybody, but make a list of things that you want that people could buy you as gifts for Christmas or your birthday. And that way, if somebody asks you, what do you want for your birthday or what do you want for Christmas, you can say, well, I have a list of things I would like. Would you like to see it? And then, instead of purchasing those ones yourself, your friends and family are getting them for you, and they're getting you something you actually want too. So that's kind of a bonus. And the last thing that can help with cutting down on impulse purchases is I'm kind of hit and miss with this one. Sometimes I do it, and then sometimes I won't do it. I don't know that we have an envelope with fun money in it right now. But there have been times in the past where I've done that. You can have an envelope that you put away wherever it's most secure for you, that you're going to remember where it is. And you can put like a few dollars in it every paycheck, however much you can sock away, and then you have it there for, like, say, purchase that you want, or the next thing I'm going to talk about, for vacation time or a big event you want to go to. The next thing I'm talking about is vacations. My husband and I already are more inclined to do this because long car rides are hard on me. I have some issues with my back, so we have to stop like every hour at the most. And I can get out and walk around, and my lips feel kind of weird. Sorry. Walk around and stuff. So, and then I have trouble spending the night at hotels. I don't always sleep the best. My husband's kind of hit and miss. There was one motel we stayed at where he also didn't hardly sleep, and I was like, you usually can sleep other places. So instead of going on a big vacation, which is a lot more expensive, you can do like a day trip. Chances are there are a bunch of things around your house that you can spend like an hour or two getting there, and close enough to your house that you could spend an hour or two getting there, spend the day, spend an hour or two getting home, and you've never been there. Because a lot of people don't go to the fun, nifty things close to home. They go to like the vacation spots, touristy places elsewhere, and sometimes you might discover that there's some place around your house that's just, wow, I didn't know this was here. So do your research on the stuff around your area. You don't even have to go like 2 hours away. Sometimes it's within an hour, or maybe even in your own town. And you can usually save a lot of money that way. You're not spending as much money on travel. You're not spending money on accommodations. If you're taking a day trip, you might even be able to pack a cooler with food in it, which is a lot cheaper than buying food once you get to your location, unless of course you're going someplace where half the reason you're going is the food, in which case obviously you would want like your fun money envelope full of money to get food there. So that helps too. The last I have two more suggestions. So my second to last is consider cutting the cord. Sometimes it does work out better if you have a landline and internet and cable to bundle them together. A lot of cable companies are doing that now to try and get people to stop cutting the cord, as it's called, getting rid of cable. So if you have all of those things, then it's going to be just as expensive, or maybe even a little bit cheaper for you to just bundle them together as opposed to just getting your phone and your internet, then by all means continue to do this. Like this, none of these suggestions are things you have to do. They're just suggestions of things that might help you. But like in our case, we just have the internet. I wouldn't mind having a landline again. We actually tried Net Zero, something like that, where you get your landline over the internet. I really liked that. My husband was in charge of it. He never used it, I did. And he didn't see the point, so he didn't renew it. But that was a lot cheaper. So if you do want to do something aside from your cell phone, that's another option. You can be using the internet for that, and that would cut costs down for you as well, and enable you to cut the cord without having to worry about the fact. But it's just as expensive as if I bundle it, so that would help there. And then, like I said, we have it's a decent internet connection. So we have an internet streaming box that we use. There are a lot of options out there. The one we have is a Roku. I think it was a Roku XD. I don't remember, and I didn't look. But we have a Roku. That's just one of the companies that makes them. There are a ton, and I imagine they all operate similarly. And then we have Netflix. We just signed up for Hulu, not the one with no commercials because it's a little bit more expensive, but one with limited commercials. We did that because we were getting Comedy Central to watch The Daily Show and The Nightly Show, and other people seem to not be having this problem with the Comedy Central app on the Roku, but ours just wasn't working. We couldn't even watch the shows we wanted to watch, and it was just those two shows. And Hulu has some things that Netflix doesn't have, like the current seasons of shows that are on. Like, we love Supergirl, and it's moved from CBS to the CW, so we should be able to watch Supergirl in its upcoming season on Hulu, so that was another reason why we got Hulu. But if you aren't really, if most of what you're watching are like reruns of older shows, and like Netflix is perfect, trust me. It doesn't have everything, and it does lose the streaming rights to some stuff occasionally, but it has more than you could possibly watch. I will never get through everything that we even want to watch on Netflix, I don't think, especially since we now have Hulu. And then there's a lot of different free channels. If you're really into old movies, there's a lot of free channels that do that. They aren't channels per se. They're like little boxes that you click on your screen, and it pulls up. It's more of an application. It's like a little app on your phone, except it's through the internet streaming box, but Roku calls them channels, and so I do. PBS has one. You can watch whatever they have the rights to stream. So anything that they're streaming currently on PBS's website, you can watch on your internet streaming box. I would presume you can do that on any of them. I watch a lot of PBS, so that's pretty cool. You don't have to watch it right when it's airing, so that's kind of nice. In PBS's case, they put it up for 2 weeks. Like, let's say you're watching, like, Downton Abbey was still on the air, and Sunday they showed it on PBS. They don't put it up right when it's airing, so if you wanted to watch it at the same time as everybody else, you're not going to get to do that. But I would usually watch it Monday night, but I would have 2 weeks after it aired to watch it before they take it back down. For some of the channels like PBS, you have like a window of opportunity, but that's pretty good. Let's see, what else can I tell you about it? I feel like I need to tell you all about it so it makes sense to you about why you would want to get rid of cable and do this instead and save yourself a bunch of money. It is more of an upfront cost at first because you do have to purchase the internet streaming box. I know for us, we wound up spending, they have different levels of, at least Roku does, like more basic one, I don't know how much that runs. And the one we got when we got it, was one of their higher end ones, so it was $100. But, you know, like I said, you get a whole bunch of stuff for free. PBS is free. If you can get the Comedy Central app to work for you, that one's free for the time being. It also, you have a window of opportunity of like 2 weeks on that one. Actually, I think you have like a week, and then they have like the previous week's up, but you have to have cable and be able to sign in. Why you would have cable and then the Roku and then watch it on there, I don't know. I guess if you didn't record it, you can go back and watch older ones. I don't know. I guess. So I'm gonna, come on, wrap this up, Amber. You keep babbling. So like I said, they have a lot of options, and like for our month-to-month bill, like we're paying, well, for streaming Netflix, it's $8 a month. Hulu with limited commercials, it's $8 a month. If we were to stay on, so that's like $16 a month. The different cable channels have been coming out with their own options too. Like CBS All Access, I think, is $9 a month, and then you can also watch, like live TV. They have an option for live TV. We had it mainly because of Supergirl, but also to watch Stephen Colbert. And there's some other shows on CBS that I like to watch, but I was so far behind on them, and they didn't have like all of the episodes for the entire series to catch up on. We're actually going to cancel ours. From what I understand, you should still be able to watch like the most recent 2 episodes of all the different shows for free on there. I know ABC has, they've come up with a similar application, and we didn't sign up for the paid version, we just used the free version, and it's got like the latest 4 episodes. So, so you can add free versions of different channels and still be able to watch, of the big networks. I don't know that NBC has one yet, but CBS and ABC do. What else to tell you about cutting the cord? And obviously you can also frequent your local rental places, video rental places. Ours has different TV shows that you can rent on DVD too. And ours, at least, you can either rent it for like a couple days, which I think is slightly cheaper, or you can rent it for a whole week. So like if you're renting disc 1 of this TV show and you're not planning on watching all of the episodes on there, you can stretch it out over a week. I've done that before. Your public library probably has videos to rent to borrow, and that would be free. So there are a lot of ways to be able to watch video content without having to pay for cable. And I've heard a lot of people say, I was never a big mindless TV watcher. I was never big on turning on the TV and leaving it play on the background, and whatever came on, came on. But a lot of people do that, and I've heard a lot of people say after they've cut the cord that they actually are much more mindful about what they're watching. And so that's an added bonus in addition to saving money, but you can really cut down on your monthly costs that way. I talked a long time about that, sorry. And the last thing I have is decluttering is like a big thing right now. Like there's books about it and videos about it, because us in first world countries just keep accumulating too much stuff, and decluttering is great. And obviously there's a lot of things you can do with your stuff when you've cleared out. One way to make money off of it obviously is to have like a yard sale, and there's other ways to make money off it too, but my point is decluttering is great, don't over declutter. when you go to get rid of something, make sure you really do want to get rid of it. You don't want to donate something, throw it out, sell it, and then discover, oh, I needed / wanted that. Now I have to go buy a new one. That's not saving you any money. So just be mindful when you're decluttering. Most people probably keep more than they should while they're decluttering anyway, so this isn't a big one. But I know that sometimes when I've read some of the decluttering tips, I'm like, but wait a minute. Like, especially when they say, you know, if you have more than one item, donate or throw out the other one. Like, sometimes you want / need to. Like, I have a couple different, I have a few different kitchen utensils where I have a couple of that. Like, I have a couple whisks, I have a couple stirring spoons, and things like that. Like, if I did that and I got rid of all of those, then I'd be like cooking two things where I need, and it's happened before, where I need like the same utensil for it, and I don't want to constantly be rinsing it off, switch to this one, rinse it off, switch to that one. It's just much easier to have two of them. So while all of those decluttering tips that you can read about all over the place are very useful, when you're, like I said, just make sure you're not going to wind up going out and buying a new version of what you already have that was in perfectly good shape because you went on a decluttering binge. So that's my last suggestion. Hopefully that was useful. I'm sure this is long because I babbled on and on and on and on about cutting the cord and what you can do with an internet streaming box. So thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful. Have a good day.